You may not want to believe this, but I am making this video to give you the permission to be absurd, to be abnormal, to be misfit, to be unusual, to be cringe, to be ostracized. I'm making this video to give you the permission to be different. The truth is, when you start on your life's journey and you begin to better your life, especially when you're coming from the rock bottom, those circles where you've raised up with all these guys from the absolute nothing, and you decided that nothing is not where you want to be. You want to do something great with your life. You're starting to change, you're starting to transform, you're beginning to read, you're beginning to attend events, you're beginning to speak differently. The conversations, these friends, acquaintances that you used to have in your circle, the conversations they want to have no longer interest you. They want to talk about other people, talk about celebrities, talk about, it no longer interests you. Guess what's going to happen when you begin to start to do things differently, when you begin to change, when you begin to act differently? You'll be different. You will be cringe. You will be awkward because you're no longer like you used to be, right? The thing is, for you to do the things you've envisioned in your heart and in your mind right now, you're going to have to be a different person. First realization. And then you've made up your mind that, okay, fine, let me be a different person, right? You're beginning to read, you're beginning to research, you're beginning to become better, beginning to speak differently, carry yourself better, you're beginning to dress better, right? When you try to identify with those guys you're leaving behind, you will not fit in. You are the square egg in the round hole. You can't fit. And I'm saying this because, especially if you're starting from nothing, from the very rock bottom, and you're a young person, listen to me. I speak to you from personal experience because on my come up, at the age of 16, I couldn't speak English, right? And here I was, a very young person, having this dream of, being able to communicate to people. And my intent, actually, right from time, has been to help people find purpose, to live meaningfully and impactfully. But being handicapped by the inability to speak English at the age of 16 and going upon the journey, now looking around me, nobody was really that intentional about doing something for a change, right? I mean, I had friends some friends, their parents were well-to-do to some degree. Some friends who their parents were, within the circle of my parents in terms of economic capability. And there was limited supply, limited resources. Most of them settled in, right? My parents can't help me. I wanted to go to the university. Now I don't want to. Listen to me, okay? I wanted to go when I finished up secondary school, high school now. But I couldn't go because my parents couldn't afford it. Now I can afford it, but I decided, no, it's not something I want to do, right? But I relate that story to you because on the journey thus far, I've had to cut down so many friends. I've had people who think of me to be arrogant. They think me to be proud. They think me to be, who does he think he is, right? I'm relating this to you from personal experience. So if you're a young person and you're starting to better your life, you're starting to do things to change, you're beginning to read, I began to speak differently. I didn't used to, imagine if I couldn't speak English at the age of 16. Imagine how people who used to know me, they're listening to me now, communicate, let's say fluently. I'm not as good as I want to be in terms of speaking, but let's say I'm communicating very fluently, right? Imagine them knowing me then, 16, couldn't speak English, and listening to this right now. They'll be like, right? So just imagine me going back, to some of these environments where I grew up. I do once in a while, and them seeing me. Of course, they'll be like, who does he think he is? They were like that when I started doing things to better my life. I had to move away from some of these environments very intentionally. So I'm saying this to you because you're supposed to be weird, all right? You are supposed to be weird. You're weird. You're weird. Trust me, if you were in their shoes, you wouldn't act any differently. In the shoes of those people right now who are watching you literally transform your life, becoming better, doing things differently. Like you guys used to go play football together, you guys used to chase girls together, you guys used to go swim together, whatever you guys did for fun. And now you're like, the time that I'm supposed to spend, going to chase girls, I want to read, or I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm listening to Pathfinder Olem, like you're doing right now. That's weird. That's really weird, trust me. So you want to understand and accept the fact that it's meant to be like that. Their reactions are not a definition of, are not as a result of them being bad. They are not really bad people. It's not because they are bad, that's why they're acting that way. It's because you're doing something weird. They're like cringe, right? The same way when you see let's say you're on the street, right, and you see a purple cow passing you by. Of course, you'll be like, what? Why is that cow purple, right? Cows are white. You're becoming purple. You're becoming purple. That's why they're like, what's going on? What's this guy? Why is this cow purple? Accept it. And it shouldn't stop you, right? It shouldn't stop you. So these guys are looking at you right now, and you're very intentional. I'm pondering on this for a moment, right? Because it took me a very long time to realize that the fact that people are acting differently to me when I'm deciding to do things differently to change my life does not mean I'm on the wrong path. I'm on the right path. So their definition and their reaction does not have to determine or define my actions. That I'm acting differently and they are reacting to me differently does not mean me acting differently is wrong. So I have to keep going. Because for me to do things differently, for me to get different results, I have to do different things. Because what I've done prior has gotten me to where I am, and where I am is not where I want to be with those guys. I don't even want to be with you guys. I want us to be better, right? This is the mentality you want to have. I love you the way you are, but I love you too much to leave you the way you are. So if you're not going to join me in changing and transforming for us to go to a better place, then I won't have you around me. You need to do that unapologetically. You need to do that respectfully, because everybody is entitled to the way they want to live their lives. So respect people who begin to look at you cringe when you're trying to change your life. Because I promise you, when you decide, if you've decided already, you must have noticed that people are beginning to act and react to you differently. They're watching you like a purple cow. Cows are supposed to be white, but all of a sudden you are purple. That's weird. You are weird. And that's okay, because you want to be weird, because you want to have a different life from the life you're having right now. That's weird. I mean, who does that? Who thinks that way? Who wants to have a different life from the life you already have? Accept it and respect their decisions. If they don't want to change, some will evolve with you. Like I have some friends who decided to grow, also evolve with me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not where I want to be in my life, journey, destiny, but I've come from a very long way. God has been very faithful to me. I have access to rooms I once dreamed of, like I never even thought possible. Meeting people, having people mentor me. It's been an amazing journey. And I'm just like a step out of the cave right now. But I'm making this for you, especially. This should cut across all ages, really. But then, especially if you're a young person, right? Understand that if you're starting from the rock bottom, you starting to change your life is absurd. It's unusual. It's a misfit. It's cringe. It's abnormal. You want to accept that, okay? And go ahead anyways. Go ahead. And I tell you this, when you begin to do things to change your life, the thing is, in the initial stages, you're doing something unusual. So it's not only unusual for other people, it's also unusual to you, right? You didn't used to read, and now all of a sudden you're reading. Your brain is like, what's going on here? You're reading. You didn't used to go to the gym, and now all of a sudden you're going to the gym. This is absurd. We shouldn't be doing this. We don't used to do this, right? So it's not only unusual to other people. People are watching you and you're like, oh, this is unusual, but it's also unusual to you. But I want to give you this phrase, and you may want to write this down. Repetition creates persuasion. The more you do something, the more normal it gets. The more you do something, the more normal it becomes to you. So you want to keep going. Keep going. Light gone, but keep going, right? So you want to keep going, irregardless of how anybody is acting towards you, irregardless of how you feel right now. You need to be able to do what you need to do when you need to do it, either you feel like it or not. So you're starting right now, you're reading, and it's like, oh wait, you feel awkward, you feel like an imposter, because you are. Spoiler alert, you're an imposter. You're doing something you didn't used to do. That's weird. You're weird. So you're not supposed to feel good about it. You're not supposed to feel home, right? But the more you keep going, repetition creates persuasion. The more you begin to identify yourself as the person who does these things. I'm just coming back from the gym. The first day I went to the gym, for the next 4 days or so, I didn't go. I almost quit. It took a friend of mine to actually push me, motivate me, and I'm like, fine. And now I'm even more consistent than the guy who wasn't motivating me to go to the gym, right? So that should tell you one thing: you can change, you can evolve. But then when you're starting out, it's not meant to be comfortable. It's not meant to be a norm. You're not supposed to feel, oh, I'm changing my life. I'm beginning to read. I'm beginning to do these things, to network, to meet people. You're going to walk into rooms and you're going to feel cringe. You're going to feel like you're not supposed to be there. I promise you, you're going to feel like, what am I doing here? I remember the first day I met, a very prominent celebrity in this in this part of the world. If I call the name, you will know the person for sure. And I got to meet her through somebody else. And I remember I stood with her and I felt very cringe. Like, she was cool about it, cool and all, right? Hey, how you doing? But I felt like an imposter. I'm like, like, this is somebody I used to watch on TV. So it's cringe, it's abnormal, it's absurd. You feel you're not supposed to be there. You feel you don't deserve to be there. You feel you're not supposed to be in those rooms. But that feeling will pass. These days, there is literally no room. I walk into a room with admiration. I admire people, but I won't walk into a room and feel any less of myself, right? Apart from the fact that it's taking mental transformation, it's also taking repetition of me constantly going into such environments and mingling and interacting with, everybody. So you want to understand that it's supposed to feel that way. Light is back. It's supposed to feel that way. It's supposed to feel cringe, but you want to keep going. The more you do it, the more you feel comfortable doing it. The more it begins to become a new norm, right? You've had an old norm. Now you want to leave that norm and create a new norm for yourself. So this new norm, until it becomes normal, it's going to be abnormal. Get that? You're leaving the old norm, you're stepping into a new norm. You've envisioned it here, you've seen it, and it's something you want. But for you to step into that new norm, you're going to pass through a process where that norm that will eventually become normal will be cringe, will be abnormal, will be absurd. That's what's required, because you're leaving something for something else. It's like you're on transit, right? Let's say you're going to the US. You're in Nigeria, you're traveling to the US. Technically, you're flying over spaces of other countries, but in technical terms, you're not on any country. You're in space. You're in absolute void, right? You're not on land. You're flying over spaces of different countries, but then you're still not landed, right? Until you land in the US. So that's not a very, palatable place to be. But you want to understand that it's what's required, okay? Kind of talking a little bit fast, but I believe you should capture these things as I'm saying them. It's what's required. So keep going. Repetition creates persuasion. The more you do it, the more you feel you can do more, and the more you do, the more comfortable it becomes to you. The more you go to the gym, the more you believe and you begin to see that the gym is not as hard and as difficult as it used to be or as you thought it to be. So keep going, okay? So this video really, brother, sister, ladies and gentlemen, I'm making to give you the permission to be abnormal. Be abnormal. Be abnormal. Guess what? You have one life to live. So come to think of it. Would you really want to not live the life that you should and you want to live because you're scared of how other people will take you when you begin to change your life for the better, for different things, to do better for your life, and people are beginning to look at you cringe? You think you want to stop changing, so they stop looking at you cringe. You think that's how you want to live your life? Of course not, right? You don't want to do that. Because you've got one life and they've got one life. And trust me, nobody really, the thing is, even the people who are looking at you cringe, it's not as though they have their own lives figured out. And you're trying to figure out your life. Some of them have even resigned to the kind of life they're having right now. It's not what they want, but they are cowards, right? They are too scared to do things to change. And nothing changes until something changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So I celebrate you because you've decided to change stuff, right? You've decided to change things. You've decided to think different, be different, speak different, read, do things to change your life. And that's applaudable. That's commendable. So I want you to see this as not like, you should be more mature about this, right? Because you should know better having watched this video. So them looking at you with those kind of snide eyes, cringe looks, it's not them being bad people. But with the knowledge you have right now, you should be able to look at such people, and those who go the extra mile, some of them are not only going to just look at you and you try to change, they're going to try very difficult, very hardly, very laboriously to try to sabotage your effort. Some will do that, right? I had friends when I was starting out. I used to play football, and because I was good, kind of, I had friends who would call me Bensil. Bensil is a brand of cigar, right? And they call me Bensil because, it's hot, right? That's what the Bensil, hot cigar. It's hot like cigar. But when I started to want to do things differently, I started to take up a new identity and started to change my life. I try to communicate to these guys that that's no longer how I want to be identified. I wouldn't want you to call me that in public anymore. Even if we're not in public, I wouldn't want you to call me Bensil. I don't want that name. Names are identities, and I don't want that as an identity, right? Most of them protested. Who do you think you are? Born again? Holy Jesus, Holy Michael. I got those reactions, right? And I promise you, the majority of those guys I used to hang around with, friends, as they were then, are no longer in my circle, right? And trust me, most of them, when they see me today, in as much as I distance myself from them for a very long time, I can see the sheer level of admiration and respect in their eyes, right? They can't refer to me like Buddha's monkey banana. They can't do that anymore. They can't look at me and refer to me like that anymore. I see the respect in their eyes. Most of them now call me Mr. This is Olem, this is Isaiah, right? But now they call me Mr. So I want to tell you that it's a journey. You just have to keep pushing through all the resistance, all the deterrents, all the people who are trying to be stubborn and want to stop you from doing some of them will try to stop you. Some of them will even influence others to try to this guy, let's keep him at bay. He's supposed to be here. What is he trying to do? So this is your permission to be awkward. Be awkward, be different. Be imposterous. Don't think that's an English word, but you get what I'm saying, right? Be an imposter. Feel like an imposter until you're no longer an imposter, until it becomes a new norm. Don't forget my illustration. So you're transiting from this point to this point. Until you make this journey, there is a void. And this void is not meant to be comfortable. You're not going to be comfortable. This is where you are. This is where you want to be, right? You are an imposter until you get here, or somewhere here. Maybe somewhere here you begin to feel a little bit more comfortable, but this is a very, very scrutinizing journey. This is where most people are kicked out of the race. So you want to understand that. That said, share this video with somebody. This is just me. I decided to make this quick video so I get this off my mind, because I believe you should hear this, okay? Especially as a family. These things I actually just most people just go on ChatGPT and make out things, but I want you to trust this for a fact that the things I communicate on this platform are things I actually sit down and kind of analyze my life experiences and the experiences of other people who I respect and mentors who speak to me from time to time, and I try to pass these things out across after very deep thought, and believing that it's going to be beneficial to us as a community. I pass them out so we find purpose, live better, meaningfully and impactfully. So share this with someone, a young person, please share this with somebody. I would really appreciate that. And of course, if you're here to subscribe to the family, come on, motivation, let me motivate you. Subscribe, okay? We're trying to create a family of pathfinders, and you're very welcome to join. Well, so long as you have it in your mind, this is my one condition. that you're going to make up your mind to live purposefully, meaningfully, and impactfully, right? If you just want to live a drifting life, then I'm sorry, but you're not welcome to the family, because that's not the community we're trying to create. So if that's your ideal, if that's what you want to do, live purposefully, meaningfully, and impactfully, then you're welcome. Subscribe. That said, as always, remember that I am waiting to celebrate your best self, and I'm rooting for you because I believe in you. See you in the next video.